J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings is a timeless epic, steeped in profound themes of good versus evil, the corrupting influence of power, and the enduring strength of hope. One of the most compelling moments in the narrative, rife with what-ifs and speculative potential, is Galadriel's confrontation with Frodo Baggins and the One Ring in Lothlorien. Frodo, burdened with the ring, offers it to her, recognizing her power and wisdom but also sensing the potential threat she poses. This moment, and Galadriel's subsequent refusal, speaks volumes about her character and the nature of the ring, and the delicate balance of power in Middle-earth. But what if she had accepted? What are the potential ramifications and the likely outcomes had Galadriel succumbed to the temptation and claimed the One Ring for herself? Greetings all, I'm your guide the Archivist. Today I'll look at if Galadriel had acquired the ring. Before we begin, please remember to like the like and subscribe waystones down below so that more people can learn from the archives. To explore this hypothetical scenario, we must first understand the context of Galadriel's character and her relationship with power. Galadriel, one of the last of the Noldor elves to remain in Middle-earth, is a key figure of immense power, wisdom and foresight. She possesses Nenya, one of the 3 elven rings, which allows her to protect Lothlorien and maintain its ethereal beauty. However, she also harbours a deep understanding of the allure and danger of power. She yearns to return to the Undying Lands, a desire that is intertwined with her own ambition and her regret she carries for her role in the kinslaying, a dark chapter in elven history. The One Ring, crafted by Sauron, is the ultimate instrument of dominion. It amplifies the wearer's inherent power, grants for invisibility and extends life. However, it also twists the mind, corrupts the soul, and ultimately enslaves the wearer to Sauron's will. It preys on desires, magnifies flaws, and whispers promises of control. In the original narrative, Galadriel's refusal of the ring is a pivotal moment of self-mastery. She acknowledges the immense power she could wield, imagining herself as a queen beautiful and terrible, with the potential to overthrow Sauron and establish her own reign. But she also recognizes the inevitable cost, her transformation into a force of darkness, mirroring the very evil she seeks to combat. She understands that even with the best intentions, the ring would ultimately corrupt her, leading to a tyranny far more subtle, yet equally devastating as Sauron's. However, in this thought experiment, we posit that Galadriel, perhaps driven by a desperate desire to protect Middle-earth, or fueled by a latent ambition, accepts the ring. What then? The details of her transformation would be subtle at first. Initially, Galadriel would likely experience a surge of power unlike anything she had ever felt. Her foresight would become even more acute, allowing her to anticipate Sauron's moves and devise strategies to counter them. Lothlorien would flourish under her enhanced protection, becoming an even more impenetrable sanctuary. She might use the ring to bolster the defences of the other 3 peoples, offering aid and counsel to Gondor and Rohan. Her motives, at least initially, would be altruistic. She would genuinely believe that she was acting in the best interest of Middle-earth, using the ring's power to combat Sauron's evil. She would likely try to convince herself that she could control the ring, bending it to her will without succumbing to its influence. This is a crucial detail to consider. However, the ring is insidious. Over time, its influence would begin to subtly warp Galadriel's perception and erode her moral compass. She would become increasingly distrustful of others, seeing hidden agendas and potential betrayals where none existed. Her desire for control would grow, leading her to micromanage the affairs of other kingdoms and demand unwavering obedience. Details of her rule would become increasingly autocratic, masked by a veneer of benevolent dictatorship. The elves, initially loyal to Galadriel, would likely become increasingly uneasy with her behaviour. They would witness the subtle changes in her personality, the growing darkness in her eyes, and the increasing rigidity of her rule. Some might attempt to reason with her, but their efforts would likely be met with suspicion and anger. Others, fearing her power, would simply withdraw, leaving Lothlorien a shadow of its former glory. The other 3 peoples of Middle-earth would react with a mixture of awe and fear. Gondor, grateful for Galadriel's initial aid, would soon find themselves increasingly reliant on her power and increasingly subservient to her will. Rohan, fiercely independent, would likely resist their influence, leading to potential conflict. The dwarves, ever wary of elven interference, would likely retreat further into their mountain halls, severing ties with the outside world. Sauron, sensing the presence of the ring on a new bearer, would shift its focus to Galadriel. He would attempt to dominate her will, using the ring's inherent connection to him. This would lead to a titanic struggle, a battle of wills fought on a spiritual plane. The details of this conflict would be catastrophic, shaking the very foundations of Middle-earth. Ultimately, there are several potential outcomes for this scenario. Sauron's victory. The most likely outcome is that Sauron would eventually prevail, dominating Galadriel's will and turning her into a powerful servant. He would then use power and knowledge to conquer Middle-earth, establishing an even more tyrannical regime. The Free Peoples would be crushed, and Middle-earth would be plunged into eternal darkness. Galadriel's tyranny. Another possibility is that Galadriel would succeed in resisting Sauron's direct control, but only at the cost of her own soul. She would become a powerful but albeit corrupt ruler, imposing her own vision of order on Middle-earth. While she might initially bring peace and prosperity, her reign would be built on fear and oppression, and the beauty and freedom of Middle-earth would be extinguished, replaced by a sterile, controlled environment. Mutual destruction. It is also conceivable that the struggle between Galadriel and Sauron would result in mutual destruction. Their combined power, amplified by the ring, could tear Middle-earth apart, leaving behind a barren wasteland. This outcome, while less likely, highlights the immense danger posed by the ring and the corrupting influence of power. And a narrow victory. Perhaps against all odds, Galadriel could find a way to defeat Sauron while retaining some semblance of her former self. However, even in this best-case scenario, the victory would be Pyrrhic. The cost of wielding the ring would be immense, leaving her scarred and diminished. She might be able to usher in an era of peace, but she would likely be forced to leave Middle-earth, forever bearing the burden of her choice. The details of her reign would be etched on her soul, a constant reminder of the darkness she had embraced. In conclusion, the hypothetical scenario that Galadriel accepting the One Ring is a cautionary tale about the seductive nature of power and the corrupting influence of even the noblest intentions. While she might initially achieve some measure of success in combating Sauron, the ring would inevitably twist her mind and lead to her downfall, resulting in a tyranny far more subtle, yet equally devastating as Sauron's. The details of her actions, driven by a desire for control and a distorted sense of righteousness, would ultimately pave the way for a darker future for Middle-earth. Galadriel's refusal of the ring in the original narrative is not just a moment of personal triumph, but a testament to the enduring power of humility, wisdom, and the recognition that true strength lies not in dominion, but in self-sacrifice. It is a reminder that even the most powerful and wise are not immune to the allure of darkness, and that the only way to truly defeat evil is to resist the temptation to embrace it, even in the name of good. And so I have now covered the content for this video, but if there's anything that has been missed, please share them in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this content, please remember to like the like and subscribe waystones down below. Naluig Vanadvan. Until we meet again.